starting a sentence with either if, when, although, or because. Even though is a synonym for although, synonym for because. Has anyone ever been told don't start a sentence with because? There's no such rule. That's phony stuff that high school teachers make up for whatever reason they make it up for. Why is it why? Whatever you read, Sports Illustrated or whatever, you'll notice that plenty of sentences start with because. I think high school teachers made that up because a lot of students, if they start a sentence with because, they'll make a fragment. Because I said so. Because I said so. That's not a complete thought, that's a fragment. Real sentence would be, because I said so, comma, you had better stay here tonight. You have to complete the thought. This is just a little follow-up to what I just said. Any questions about dependent clauses? I'm counting wrong.
You can have mine.
Oh, someone can share.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Would you mind looking over him? Now, this isn't terribly difficult. Let's take, 2-3 minutes. And these sentences don't start with a dependent clause. The little rules of the game is start every one of these sentences with because, if, although, or when. Take a few seconds and do this.
Oh, that hasn't reached us yet.
Okay, if you two will put your name and then July 29th by it, I'll at the end we'll figure out the content. Now back to my take on writing. You can rethink the whole sentence. If you have a possibility in the sentence, you can start that sentence with if. If you have an element of time in the sentence, you can start that sentence with when. If you have a contrast in the sentence, you can start that sentence with although. If you have a concept with why, you can start that sentence with either because or since. But again, you can take the sentence you already have and just arrange the order. Or sometimes add a word or two. Okay, let's take a look at this. I'm sorry, sir. What did you miss, Chris? Would you read 1 as it is?
Sally will participate, but she will not play.
Okay, if you run to start that sentence with a dependent clause, how would you do
I
it?
said, although Sally will arrive late, she will participate.
That's it. If you have but in the middle, you can start that sentence with although. In fact, people tend to repeat compound sentences with but in the middle too much. About the third time you want to do that, instead start the sentence with although to give your piece of writing a better rhythm. Okay, number 2.
Ralph uses a credit card when he dines with clients. If Ralph dines with clients, he uses a credit card.
You have the right idea. I would argue that when and if aren't interchangeable. The when is definite and if is a possibility. But you have the right idea. When Ralph dines with clients, comma, Ralph uses a credit card. Number 3. Sir, I know you're...
The room will change if no people attend. I put, enough people attend, the room will change.
Yeah. If enough people attend, comma, the room will change. Okay, number 4.
Because they practice daily.
Either one of...
Oh. If they practice daily, the band will become popular.
Okay, you have the right idea. Again, I think the word is because. Because the reason why is sort of interchangeable with why. Okay. Because they practiced daily, comma, the band became popular. Back to the reason why is. You see how pointless that is in writing? Another example of why is doesn't always do a lot. Number 5.
Ted works mornings, so we'll take evening class. Because Ted works mornings, so we'll take evening class.
That's it.
If you finish the current project, although we finish the current project, we can
Okay. Yeah, I know this isn't the hardest thing you're going to do in college, and that's my point, sort of. Be sure to start at least one sentence with a dependent clause, doing what we just did. Again, you can key on these words and rewrite sentences, or you can just write what you always write and then go in and rearrange things where it starts. At least one sentence starts with a dependent clause. Okay. Has the handout about Project 1 made its way around?
We're short again.
Oh, man. I'll get you one more. I'll look on the view. I think I've said more of this before. It's due to Thursday, 2.5 pages double-spaced, 5 different language websites, a minimum of 7 paragraphs, a minimum of 200 words, 2 sentences for an introduction, at least 2 sentences for a conclusion, 5 paragraphs, 5 sites, 2 sentences giving his or her comments about the effectiveness of that site. To receive an A, students should use no more than one form of to be 3 times on a page, or all forms of to be no more than 5 times a page. You got to start one sentence with a dependent clause and one with a prepositional phrase. You can't use a comma splice, a run-on, or a fragment. So, any questions about Project 1? Let's follow that up with a quick look at commas. And you really do need to know what a dependent clause is and an independent clause is to get your commas right. Is there anyone here who wasn't here last time, yesterday? Okay. At the end of class, let me try to catch up. Who did not, for one reason or another, get their assignment on the oral presentation? Okay. Tell you what, give me till tomorrow on that. I don't want to give you something I've already given somebody else, but I won't make it first step. Okay. Remember, you put a comma before a conjunction in the compound sentence. Remember, you put a comma after a sentence that starts with a dependent clause. I forget, where we leave off last time when we were going around the class. Okay. How about, yeah, let's, where would you put a comma in number one? Would you read number one?
With my childhood friend and his huge dog, I had a little comment dog.
You're right. Here's the rule. If you start a sentence with a prepositional phrase, with my childhood friend and his huge dog is a prepositional phrase. It's a phrase because there's no verb. If it's long, you put a comma after it. If it's short, in most cases, you don't put a comma after it. Now, I consider all you people adults. I'm not going to get an argument with somebody on what's long and what's short. But I think, we all agree that with my childhood friend, his huge dog is long enough to put a comma after it. Number two, please.
Before Bob knew it, you had started a new business, and after it.
After it. Before Bob knew it is a dependent clause. I didn't put it on the board with all the if and so on. But you recognize before Bob knew it is a clause. Bob knew is subject and verb. If you start with a dependent clause, you got to put a comma between after the dependent clause and before the independent clause. Number three.
In 1897, frontier changed again.
Right. Couple of exceptions. That's the trouble with teaching English if you spend a lot of time explaining exceptions. I just said that you don't put a comma after a short prepositional phrase. And in 1897 is a short prepositional phrase, yet there's a rule that says you put a comma after a short prepositional phrase if it contains a date or place name. So you're right, a comma goes after there. Number four. I'm sorry, what is your name?
Kate,
Kate. Four, please.
when we arrived at the lake, it started to snow.
Right. Does everyone recognize that when we arrived at the lake, it's a dependent clause, and you need that comma? Okay, number five.
Because we use our own culture to judge others, cultural relativism presents a challenge to ordinary thinking.
That's it. And you can see how confusing that sentence would be if you didn't have a comma in it. But the rule is, because we use our own culture to judge others, it is an opening dependent clause, so you've got to have the comma. Number 6.
Beginning before sunrise, and fly repeated until
Yeah.
sunset.
Beginning before sunrise, we haven't talked about that. That's a participle phrase. It starts with an ing form. But you still put a comma after a participle phrase, even though it doesn't have a real verb in it. Okay, number 7.
When lightning struck, comma, James Harvey fainted.
That's right. It depends what you mean. This is a little trick. Is there one people in this sentence, or are there 2 people in this sentence? When lightning struck James, comma, Harvey fainted, if you want to kill somebody. If you don't want to kill somebody, when lightning struck, comma, James Harvey fainted. Number 9. I'm sorry, yeah.
In eastern New Mexico, comma, the law follows the
Yeah. Normally, you wouldn't have a comma there, but since it's a place name, you can put a comma there. Okay, number 9.
Numerous private daycare centers exist, comma, but often the employees are underpaid.
That is correct. It's a compound sentence. You have that conjunction in the middle, and you need a comma before a conjunction in the compound sentence. And number 10.
Although one can enjoy music without understanding it, appreciation requires knowledge.
That's it. Opening dependent clause, you need a comma after it. Oddly enough, if you end a sentence with a dependent clause, you don't need a comma. You only need a comma if it starts off the phrase. Years and years ago, I gave up trying to explain logic and explain grammar in terms of logic. It's not logical sometimes. It's just the rules. Okay. Well, this is the bit where you break into groups.
Is that for our assignments?
Yeah, if you have exercise 1, put it in this chair before you leave.
Thank you.
If I wrote it, do I just need to type it tonight?
Yeah, I'll accept it this first time. Turn it in this time. Oh, 1 and 2. Something's wrong with it. 3 and 4. 5 and 6.
Yeah.
7 and 9, I see I've already used no, 6 and 8. I've 7 and 9. What did I give you people?
5 and 6.
Okay, 7 and 9, and 10, 11, 12.
Here's the extras.
Thank you.
Sally's mismatched outfit in Washington. England.
Oh, and yes, today, folks, I know this is all sort of a shot in the dark, but not only rewrite the sentence, but turn to the last page and tell me what editing symbol you think best describes what was wrong with the original sentence. again, not only write the sentence, but try to pick a symbol that best expresses what's wrong with the original sentence. Remind me tomorrow to get you a presentation assignment.
Okay, tomorrow.
Do they have comma splice? Yes, they have comma splice. I think the first one's a comma splice. Just a guess, because Sally's outfit is mismatched, faded.
This is some material that we went over, maybe some of the other students can.
Okay, and today we have to submit the homework, right?
Right, put it in that chair there.
Oh, the British use it a lot. They love to stick two sentences together with a comma. Even in their news articles. But I don't think that was one that
I think it's got it, but couldn't buy it. Yeah.
Maybe words add clutter. Yeah, words add clutter. Because I think that's mostly all we're doing on number 7 is decluttering.
Yeah, maybe that's something we have to add with it.
In here, but redundant, so eliminated means you're getting rid of everything, so completely
Yeah.
take redundant.
Also, I ran out of these. We might just copy that down.
Okay.
This is, I don't know if it's anything new, but it's just instructions for project 1.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's different. I don't know, different, yeah, reasoning. We're supposed to fix the sentence. And if you have one of those,
Yeah.
you said use the last page for these editing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe that's what.
It could be just units. Are we ready?
When you're ready, have at it.
I don't mind writing.
No, that's okay. Just
Because then you just see what he's done that it doesn't have like a doer, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, no, when he said doer, sorry. It doesn't really change stuff.
Okay,
That are,
tell
she
you
said
what,
in 2011, comma, our company produced.
This is, our company we're doing,
okay, put
No, we wouldn't
two
put
by
it
your
there,
name,
we
but
just put
do sign
in
this, because
2011,
ultimately,
comma, our company.
I mean,
We know leave you a few.
everybody sign the roll sheet? Okay.
Oh, no. You gonna go write it? Or you gonna?
I will.
Psychology online is not. I took sociology last summer online.
there you go.
Dying.
I just drove it, it's 5 hours straight. Like 3 or 4 hours of homework.
I refused, I wanted to take chemistry. You have to do, you would teach the class.
You're here too?
The class, the lab, the recitation for the class, the recitation for the lab. Yeah, you have to do that. And then,
Is this a homework? You guys
we had 4 classes.
No, we didn't.
But my chemistry,
I think all our homework
the exercises, right?
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's university. It's for the, engineering college.
Just the non-basic. So I did non-major biology.
Those are my only 2 majors, except for this, and I've taken English too, and I didn't need it. So now I'm in this. It's 3 engineering college.
Yeah.
Both Englishes plus Yeah.
Yeah.
I did take 2 Englishes, 2 English, plus variety and really speak English and work, so I could post Taking 2 regular ones and 4 online, I mean 2 online.
That's fine.
Not sure the university classes. I'm taking 2 online. I'm not going to dress it. Like, I have some papers every day at this time.
Every day.
Every day. I'm taking nutrition.
Would you say like in the fall semester, my girlfriend's taking like 4 or 5 classes?
I'm taking 2 online in the fall.
Would it be, is it hard like in the fall semester to take 5 classes?
No, just because you have that short amount of time. I'm doing.
Well, she said you have to take it, she's not calling you.
I'm gonna,
Yeah, I think it
because I was
covers
there the first 2 years.
You're right, so it's just a problem with it, yeah.
I was there 2 years.
The symbol is,
Well, I just underlined it too, but I like this. I'm tired of living there.
And it, that's it.
Yes, ma'am.
It's funny, I'm 20, so I went to the bar, so I'm not 21, so I paid $5. It's free for anyone.
Yeah.
They thought I was gay, they watch it like crazy. This is a good
Where?
no, actually, it's this.
I went one time.
You get an assignment for your PowerPoint
You're not,
presentation.
you're not watching.
Okay, folks, let's take a look at this. Hello? Okay. The rule on numbers is that it doesn't have anything to, whether you spell it out or put it as a figure, doesn't have anything to do with how big the number is. If you can say the number in 1 or 2 words, it's spelled out. So what's wrong with this one? Wrong use of numbers.
Oh, okay. We could not figure out what was wrong with it.
Well, this is, you know, we're just, you gotta start somewhere. Now, I will say, if you're a journalism major, they have a different way of doing this in magazines and so on. I think their rule is numbers larger than 10 or figures, I forget. But in most English classes, most college courses, if you can say the number in 2 words, it doesn't matter if it's 20 or if it's 2 billion, it's still spelled out. Okay.
I have a question about that. My understanding is that once you choose one way, then you're supposed to use that throughout.
No, no such rule. Never seen that. It looks a little odd, maybe, but even in the same sentence, if you go one way with, if it's 2 words, and you go the other way, it's more than 2 words. Now, I will say, if the piece of writing that you're doing, the whole point of the piece of writing is a number, you would put it both ways, kind of like a check. But in most formal writing, it doesn't, you can have it one way and the other way in the same sentence, and that's still considered correct. You fix this. It's a dangling modifier. A dangling modifier is if you have something modifying in the sentence that doesn't really connect with anything in the sentence. When you put I in the sentence, the word becomes correct. The original sentence, running for the bus, comma, my book fell in the mud. Well, the book wasn't running. You see how that's a dangling modifier. You have to, the running for the bus part has to have something to attach to it. Okay, number 3. Now this it wasn't passive voice. You have to have a form of to be in a passive voice sentence. Everyone should look up the word. Everyone should. That adds something to the sentence, so that's not what's wrong. You actually fixed it almost. Periods always go inside quotation marks. Periods and commas, even if it's just one word at the end, the period and comma still goes inside.
I've noticed that the British like to put it outside all the time.
Yeah, that's their standard way of doing it. Perhaps some of you have had a Brit school teacher put it on the outside. But since we're in Texas, on Jeopardy, they also put it on the outside for whatever reason. They bought gas. You're right. It is a misplaced modifier. Now, it's easy to get a dangling modifier confused with a misplaced modifier. A misplaced modifier, you have all the words you need, they're just in the wrong order. See, it's not the store that costs $4, it's the gas that costs $4, and this straightens that out. But with a dangling modifier, you actually usually need to add a person or a thing. There's just something missing in a dangling modifier sentence. So, not quite the same thing. 5. Here we go. Okay. This is a run-on. Now, I would count that wrong because that's a comma splice, meaning you put a comma where a period could go. This starts a new sentence. Does everyone see that? We can design the product, stop. Then we can work on marketing. Some people would put a semicolon there. Some people would put a period there. That doesn't matter, but you can't put a comma there, and you certainly can't just squash them together without any punctuation. So that's a run-on. Please ask me questions. I'm just going to move through this, but if you'd like more explanation. Number 6, correct. Comma goes inside of it. And it's just wrong use of quotation marks, or a problem with quotation marks. If it's small, like an article or a poem or a short story, it's in quotation marks. If it's longer, like a paper or a book, it's italicized. I can't italicize at the board, so I'm not doing that. Okay, 6, 7. Okay. Let's see, mismatched. Let's leave that. Okay, that's fine. Is faded and needs washing. We'll talk more about, it's not clutter, it's parallelism, and we'll talk more about that. Okay, mismatched is an adjective. Faded is an adjective. Can anyone think of one word that needs washing?
Dirty.
Dirty. You have an adjective here, you have an adjective here, so it sounds a lot better if you put an adjective there. Needs washing is a clause, a phrase. You have another word there. We'll talk more about parallelism, but I just wanted to introduce the concept. It's what most people expect, even if they've never heard of parallelism. They're not wanting needs washing, they're wanting dirty. Okay, number 9 is correct. Completely eliminate. If you eliminate something, if it is complete, then that is redundant. Okay, 10. Now don't confuse redundancy with repetition. Do you see the difference? Completely eliminate are two separate words. They mean the same thing, but you're saying the same thing twice, but there's two separate words. Repetition is if you use the same word twice. And for purposes of demonstration, I'm using just one sentence, but when you write your projects, you don't want one word to stand out. It's a knack that you pick up, but for instance, I don't know, in the first report, there's a tendency to use the word student. Students can use this side for whatever. But you can only use the word student so many times. You know. So repetition can apply to whole paragraphs as well as just sentences. You have to, you don't have any choice of using article adjectives, A, and B. You're kind of tied to where they turn up. But every other word you use, you're kind of watching how many times have I used this word. And that's a trick. You just don't want any word to be over and over. Instead of saying students, you can say people interested in English or something like that. The trick in writing, of course you can use a noun, of course you can use a pronoun. You're always trying to think of some other thing to call it. That's just what writing is. Okay, yeah, number 11 is correct. You don't need a comma there. Independent clause. This is an independent clause, but this is not an independent clause. So you don't need a comma there. If you said, we finished the proposal and we have started the project, yes, a comma there. But if you take that out and there's not a complete thought on this side, no comma. And 12 is correct, it's just active voice. Don't use passive voice. Okay, let me show you one thing if you'll get out your textbooks. If you don't have one yet, look on with somebody. I promise you'll need it someday. And to page 218. Okay, I know how much I've talked about don't use passive voice, but there's 2 or 3 reasons, valid reasons, you're stuck with passive voice or you want to use passive voice. One is if you honestly don't know who did it. You don't have a doer, you don't know the doer, so you're stuck with passive voice. In this sentence, yes, I know it's passive. There's was that makes it passive. I guess I could hop online and try to find the architectural firm, construction firm that built Texas Stadium, but I mean, it's been torn down. Who cares? So you're kind of stuck with passive voice there. Occasionally, now if I use a was there, that means in my writing I'm trying not to use an is or was and were somewhere else. But sometimes, yeah, you're kind of stuck with passive voice. Another reason is the word you in business writing. If it has a negative connotation at all, that tends to make people mad. The example they give in the book, you have not paid your bill. The diplomatic way to say that is the bill has not been paid. Yes, I know that sounds clunky. Passive voice always sounds clunky. But one reason to use passive voice is if you get, passive to gets rid of the doer. And that way you don't have to say you did it. I'll throw in lawyers love passive voice. It hides who's doing the action. Lawyers love to hide stuff. You might remember this, but in college normally you're not trying to hide information. A lawyer wouldn't say, Bill Smith rejected your proposal. He would use passive and say, your proposal has been rejected. So Bill Smith didn't sue. So some people have problems with this one. You need to overhaul our filing system. You say our filing system needs to be overhauled. And that's one valid reason to use passive voice. That's all I want to do today. Any questions about anything? Okay, see you tomorrow.